Hello guys, we are getting ready for our quiz on lessons 3-1, 3-2, and 3-3. So this is just going to be a review of those lessons and some proof practice since you will be seeing a proof on your test or on your quiz coming up. So we just want to make sure that we cover our bases here. So hopefully you've already done these 4 proofs. Now I'm just going to go through them. So we can see here that we're given R and S are parallel. So they're telling us that R and S are parallel and angle 1 is congruent to 2 by given information. Well, because these are parallel, we can now say that angle 2 and 3 are congruent by corresponding. Then if we look at steps 1 and 2, they both have this angle 2 tying them together. So by using the transitive property, we can now say angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Well, by looking at this diagram and when we've got angles right next to each other that are making a straight line, we can say that angle 1 and 3 are a linear pair. So that's what I have down here in step 4, that 1 and 3 are a linear pair. And we know that angle 1 and 3 are supplementary because that is the definition of a linear pair. Now we can say because 1 and 3 are both congruent and supplementary, if 1 and 3 are congruent and supplementary, that means that T must be perpendicular to R. So that's step 6. R is perpendicular to T because 1 and 3 are congruent and supplementary. All right, next proof here. I've got some of it already filled in and some of it we'll talk through. So L is parallel to M, and we do have those marks on here already that L is parallel to M. And 1 is congruent to 3. Why can we say that? Because they are vertical angles. And then why is 3 congruent to 2? Well, because we have those parallel lines, those are considered corresponding angles. Well, now 1 is congruent to 3 and 3 is congruent to 2. So we can say 1 is congruent to 2 by the transitive property. And that's what we were trying to prove. So we are done. All right, the next proof here, so all of that given information is in step 1, and they have them marked parallel. AB is parallel to CD. We've got those lines in there. So now in step 2, why is angle 1 congruent to angle 2? Well, because we have those parallel lines, 1 and 3 are considered to be corresponding angles, and since they're corresponding angles, they are going to be congruent. Now let's see, 1 is congruent to 2, and 1 is congruent to 3, so that means 2 and 3 are congruent. Well, 3 is congruent to 4, so if 2 is congruent to 3 and 3 is congruent to 4, that must make 2 and 4 congruent. So this is using your transitive property here. And so now if 2 and 4 are congruent, we have corresponding angles are congruent, so that would make this line parallel to this line. So this would be the converse, so make sure you get converse in there, of corresponding angles. Okay, so converse of corresponding angles, that's the big word that we have to get in there. That's how we get the lines parallel, is by using the converse. All right, and our last proof here, we just wanted to practice using a flowchart proof, but most all of your proofs will be 2 columns, so that's fine. So given information, angle 2 is congruent to 3, that is given. But now looking at this diagram, we can say 1 and 2 are congruent, and that is by vertical angles. Now, if we use 2 congruent to 3 and 2 congruent to 1, we can say 1 and 3 are congruent by your transitive property here. So by transitive, 1 is congruent to 3. Well, if 1 and 3 are congruent, that is going to make L parallel to M by the converse of corresponding angles. Converse of corresponding angles. So remember, whenever we are concluding lines are parallel, we have to put that converse in there. Alrighty, that does it for these 4 proofs. Good luck on your quiz.